Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin, one half of the Steve and Mike Show. www.steveandmikeshow.com is up and running, where you can hear such shows as you're about to hear today. This is another edition of On the Mike and Mike, and I am pleased to have on. You're on my pop culture show with the lovely Miss Kim Chi talking about Aaliyah, a lot of great 90s R&B acts. I'm happy to have her on for On the Mike with Mike, our one-on-one interview here, because I gotta say she's an amazing talent. She's an awesome person. So, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you wrestler, fighter, and just a hell of a talent, and one Lana Luxor. Lana, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, it's amazing to be on the show. I had such a great time with our interview with Kim Chi when we were discussing Aaliyah and 90s pop culture. So I'm happy to be here for my solo interview, and I'm excited.
I think to add to that, before we actually get to tell your story, this is very apropos in what I say this with my utmost respect and sentiments to you, Lana. What's great about podcasting is we give the platform for people to tell their stories and just give them, the airway to do it, and I'm happy to do that for you. So, again, just wanted to say thank you on that and add to that.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So first and foremost, let's get started and rock and roll into this. How did you get involved in the world, a great world that is session wrestling? We get to see a lot of great dynamics in there, a lot of great people that we're going to get into. But how did you get into session wrestling?
So I actually got into session wrestling back in 2016. So I got into fetish in general in 2016. I was originally posting for more of erotic modeling on a website called sexyjobs.com. And funny enough, Vivi Lane from Do Maintenance, she had reached out to me via Messenger, and she asked me would I be interested in a 8-way bondage shoot that she had planned that same week. She was missing one more girl. And at first I was like, what the hell is bondage wrestling? I wasn't familiarized with fetish at all. So I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was cool that it was a woman that was running her own company. And I decided to show up to the shoot. And that's actually where I met Kim Chi as well too there. And I had a great time. And then from then on, I was doing bondage shoots with Vivi and Do Maintenance. And then in 2017, I decided that I wanted to step into a more semi-competitive role and start learning how to grapple.
I gotta say, I've seen what you do with the grappling, and here's what I always appreciated, because with wrestling, whether you see head scissors, body scissors, whatever type of maneuver it is, I mean, you get to add more to your repertoire and you get to train, because I also look at it like both of the worlds of MMA and wrestling. There's a lot of schools out there and a lot of academies for you to apply your craft and learn, and I think just the overall conditioning of it, so that's why I always appreciated session wrestling, because it's the three key elements of beauty, strength, and dominance. Like, you get to see sexy and beautiful women like yourself, Lana, and I'm going to tie in and correlate you into this, because you see a lot of beautiful women like yourself that not only are they strong and powerful from, as a woman's standpoint, but, you get to see them kick ass and take names from a physical standpoint, so that's where that all ties in.
Right. And, and I actually, speaking of schools and academies, I actually train at a dojo. I've been training for 14 months now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I had earned my blue belt last month. So
that's awesome.
Just keep training hard.
Well, I think that's what you have to do, and like I said with them, I got to tell you something about fetish modeling, because it's very interesting that I wanted to bring up this with you, because I think I also correlate this into everyday life. People are very unique in what they appreciate. Like we talked about bondage there, but what people are very much into. Like, people are very unique in their genetic makeup, if you will. So it's kind of interesting to see the many dynamics that you get to have in that modeling world, whether it be bondage or what have you, with people like in session wrestling. So you get to deal with a lot of unique people that are into a lot of different unique tastes, if you will.
Right, and that's another amazing aspect about just doing real-time sessions, because you can also get exposed to something that you may not have thought that you were interested in before. And I've learned that for myself personally. Like, I do a lot of, and this might sound funny, because I do a lot of face-sitting sessions, because I shoot a lot of face-sitting content. But when I first started doing face-sitting last year, I didn't know this was something that I was really going to enjoy until someone had introduced me to it in a session, and I was just like, oh, I love squashing people with my face, with my ass. I mean, this is amazing. So it's just funny how like you learn what you're actually into by being exposed to different tastes that clientele may have. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
So you segue with me with that because I was about to say a lot of your films are like ass smothering and just crushing.
Yeah, a lot of ass shows. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what it is too, and I've seen that, and you can look at it in different categories in films, however you want to like interpret it. But a lot of guys, there are guys out there that just like a bootay or a gluteus maximus, however you want to define it, on their face. I mean, there's a lot of pop.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, well, okay, I'm going correct terms there, if you will, instead of button ass. But yeah, there you go. But no, I mean, me being the nerd that I am, and I think you can appreciate this. I got a lot of pop culture references going in through my head. I got a little Rex and Effect, a little Rump Shaker there. I got a little Bubba Sparks, and
Rump Shaker, nice. Oh yeah,
Miss New Booty.
Miss New Booty. Yep.
Oh God, if you even want to go to like wrestling, I remember the WWE original CD from 2003. Listening to Rikishi talk about put a little ass on. I mean, we could be all over the place.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness, this is great. I appreciate you so much.
No problem.
Man.
I could have went. All right, one more. I'll go before we move on. A little mystical. Shake your ass, but you watch yourself. Show me what you're working with. There you go.
Sounds good. Show me what you're working with. Yeah, that's good. I forgot about that one. Oh man, it's so many references.
It is so many references. It will be here all day, but yeah, I mean, again, I think it's kind of like, but yeah, just most of your stuff I could say, and I think that's a lot of people, whether it be you know what it is too. You also see in life with us males, and I'll say this: being a male, I'm a very polite male. I mean, I'll be honest with you, and here's where I'm gonna go with this. Being a man that was raised mostly by his mother and grandmother, God rest her soul. And my parents were great. My grandparents were great. But having those two female role models, and my mom is probably one of the best people I know in this world. I love my mom very much. So she gave me the aspect of appreciating women for the work of art that they are, no matter what shape or size that they may be. So I got to say, that really does help when I see, like, you girls just being so powerful and dominant in what you do. So I got to say, I got to give props to my moms for that, just for being appreciative of the women. So, yeah.
And you're very respectful, so I appreciate you.
No problem. I think, well, that's good. You got to be with this, because I look at it like this, and we'll tie this in. Like what modeling, like the people of the world, and I got to say, some people, the fat shaming shit has got to stop. And I mean, that's just to put it bluntly. Right. It really does, because there are so many people, whether it be, look at plus-size modeling, like look at WWE, you got Nia Jax, cousin Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you got Ashley Graham taking over the game, you look at modeling in general, Tyra Banks, and growing up in the 90s with Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model, I'm talking about Life Size, Disney Channel original movie, Lindsay Lohan, are you kidding me? Take me back.
Right.
But there's so many aspects.
I used to love that movie.
That was a great movie. There's so many aspects that we can take from modeling, no matter what shape or size, and I think people don't realize that the market that plus-size modeling and modeling in general has. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's the first time I heard BBW, and I know we're sticking into the pop culture realm. First time I heard the term BBW, Big Beautiful Women. I'm talking about Family Matters. God rest her soul, Donna Summer played Aunt Una, the aunt of Steve Urkel. She was big, but, the minister didn't care, the pastor didn't care, because, she went into Steve's old chamber there, she got skinny, but she's like, I like you just the way you are, I like BBWs, and she goes, what's BBWs? Big Beautiful Women. That's the first time I found out about BBWs with Donna Summer. God rest her soul. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you could look at, and from pop culture, and to correlate into real life, and how you do it. So, I mean, there you go. Just the appreciation of women right there.
Right. I just feel like appreciation of women's bodies in general. As a whole, why not love the female figure, regardless of what size, how much weight the woman weighs? It doesn't matter. The shape. I feel like all women's bodies are beautiful. So there's definitely more need for representation, I feel like, in the media, but I'm hopeful that it will come.
Oh, yeah, I'm hopeful as well. And I mean, I made this reference with Domino Caterina when I had her on, and we'll get into Domino and all the great talents that you worked with in a second, but I made the analogy of the joy of painting. And like I said, I kind of like pulled that one out of my keister with that, because I guess I'm thinking to myself as a kid, what did I watch when I would come home from school? Because what would be on would be the joy of painting, the old episodes of Bob Ross and his afro.
Bob Ross,
Yes,
yeah.
just painting the skies, and I'm gonna print a little beautiful sky here, maybe a little river, a little mountain, whatever. He was getting into it. You have to look at it like Bob Ross would get into it with those paintings, because everything is an art form. You got to be passionate about what you do, whether it be jiu-jitsu, like we mentioned there, Lana, wrestling, MMA, everything is an art form. Music, as we were talking about with our pop culture references. So everything in life is an art form, and appreciated for the art form that it is.
Right. I agree.
All right. Now, speaking of Domina Katerina, I mean, Doom Maidens, we have a lot of great talents there like yourself, and I really do appreciate the intergender wrestling type of deal here, because, and Hans, also give credit to Hans there as well, and Aurelia, Vivi. Intergender wrestling, now me, growing up, in the 90s, we saw a little bit of that in, WWE and WCW, like Medusa, for example, when she was fighting Evan Courageous for the Cruiserweight title in WCW towards the end there. You see a lot of that, and I always appreciated, like, seeing intergender wrestling, which has kind of become like a big thing now, whether it be in AAA and so many promotions out there in the pro wrestling circuit. But I got to say this to you, and in session wrestling as well. But I remember in the 80s when Andy Kaufman, was the intergender champion of the world, throwing the coffee on Jerry Lawler Saturday Night Live. It was almost kind of like a comedic aspect, like, oh, men and women going at it. But it's like, you got to look at it now, and just how far we've come from the 80s and to now, to see how intergender wrestling and all this is coming to fruition.
Right, and I appreciate, as you may know, intergender wrestling, mixed wrestling is amazing. It's nothing like, in my opinion, wrestling a guy and being able to kick his ass. But no, seriously, I have a lot of fun with it.
And I gotta say this to you, I'll be honest with you. Some of us guys need an ass whooping, because, look, I'll be honest with you. I'll take another pop culture reference here. Eric Matthews, Boy Meets World. Men are idiots. He just said it plain and simple. Men are idiots. Men are real idiots.
Right.
That's what we are.
Yes. And it does feel good being able to put a man in his place.
I bet. And like I said, sometimes we deserve it. And that's why I appreciate, like, again, what you do with the session community. I also will incorporate Jennifer Thomas in here, what she does for Session Girls, because there's a lot of people that...
Yes.
Because I look at it like... Again, we talk about intergender and mixed wrestling, but a lot of people, whether it be ass smothering, we're talking about going back to the booty for a second there, whether it be ass smothering, whether it be, foot fetishes or what have you. I mean, there's a lot of things like that's very, and again, I use this term and I know I reiterate it with this, Lana, but there's a lot of dynamics there that people are into, and it's just like, there's so many things out there that really gets the mind going. I could say even to apply this to creative juices, if you will. So there's a lot of different systematic dissections and joint manipulation that goes on in there as well.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into, I want to talk about Kim for a second, because Kim, I think you two probably have some of my favorite dynamics together, just because, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be a little biased here. I like the two of you. You two are my friends, and I appreciate the hell out of both of you. But I look at what Darius does with Hit the Mat from the boxing aspect, and you get to see a lot of the combative sports there in that realm. So I got to ask you, working with Kim, just the dynamic of that and just Hit the Mat, what are your thoughts on that whole dynamic? Because we mentioned Doom Maidens. Doom Maidens is great, but I also got to put over Hit the Mat with what Darius does.
Right. And I'm going to speak pretty candid here now.
Okay.
Working with Hit the Mat was amazing. So I worked with Darius and Hit the Mat for the first time this past January, and I don't do a lot of boxing. And although his company advertises fantasy boxing, you still have to be careful. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, I accidentally actually hit Madison Swan in the face. So accidentally, because I didn't really know what I was doing with the jabs, and Kim Chi was just coaching me throughout each set. I was going up against Hazel Annie, and she's another amazing talent to work with, and just guiding me, because this is out of my element. Like, I do a lot of wrestling, I do a lot of grappling, but once I put the boxing gloves on, it's like a whole new territory that I'm not familiar with, but I was eventually able to get comfortable with. And Darius as well too. Like, Darius he's such a huge shit talker, but in person he's a teddy bear. He's amazing.
I gotta say this as well because when you talk about jabs, I mean, I look at great women's boxers. I mean, the top one that comes to mind is Layla Ali. You know, float like a butterfly, sting by a bee.
Right.
The daughter of the great Muhammad Ali. And I look at it like this. So, all right, this is where I go back to pop culture stuff because I'm a nerd here, and I want to see if you get this reference here, Miss Luxor. Uh,
Oh, okay,
okay,
okay.
George. There was an episode of George Lopez when Max wants to fight, you know, because of these bullies, you know, bullies coming at you, you know, they're just saying mean things from a verbal standpoint, maybe even a physical standpoint. Nonetheless, I digress. We get into the boxing training academy. Layla Ali is the teacher playing in that show, and she's training Max how to fight, but Max, he's a little bit and you know, Constance Marie, the mother on the show, does not want to see her little baby get hit, and once she gets hit, she freaks out. But it's like Max getting taught how to box, so you're kind of like I'm equating it to Max Lopez, little George Lopez reference.
I remember that episode. Did he get black eyes?
Yes, he did. Yeah, yes, he did.
I used to show George Lopez, as you may remember, because we're like almost the same age. George Lopez, like in the early 2000s, used to just come on like around 11 p.m. or midnight, and I used to stay up. I had school the next day, but I used to just stay up watching those episodes. So it's just great that you brought back George Lopez. That was a great show. Just getting off track now, but
don't even worry about it. I'm gonna say something. First of all, I see your attitude there about George Lopez. You got that NFG about you. No fucks given. I got school the next day. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna stay up and watch some George Lopez.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a great show.
It was, and yes, I'll be honest with you. First of all, what do you mean we're almost about the same age? You trying to make me look old now? What's going on there? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Wait, you're like 28, right?
27.
27. Okay, so I guess we're close in age. I'll be 26 in September. So.
Who's counting?
And that wasn't a jab. That wasn't a jab.
It's a little sting. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a little sting. But no, but I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, 27, 26. See, I was even going to go to Ali right there. I was about to say age ain't nothing but a number. So there you go. It all comes back to Ali. There you go.
There you go.
But I mean, like, yeah, I kind of equate it to that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Okay, here's a funny story. Like, I remember, like, the first time I actually was looking at, like, women's athletes. Before, like, wrestling and, like, MMA and, like, what we have now. I mean, I remember as a kid, I think, oh my God, I don't know why this brings back memories, but as a kid, it's the things that you remember, Lana, I swear. But I remember as a kid in elementary school taking out the library, there was a book on Mia Hamm. Remember her? Those who remember Mia Hamm, the soccer player? She was like a big soccer player in like the 90s. This was also like around the time when like Travis Pastrana and like everybody, the whole X Games thing was coming to fruition, motocross and all these people.
Okay.
So yeah, they started they featured a lot of like women's soccer players, and she was like the big one. This is again just watching ESPN just like on Saturday as a kid. Like I said, just the stuff that you remember and the little tidbits. It's amazing just that you absorb. But anyway, like it's just I always appreciated like the different forms of like what women's athletes. I just thought it was so cool because I never looked at it like, you know, like the male chauvinistic type of thing. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, as a kid, you know, looking at girls and, you know, people talk about girls and, you know, well, they got cooties and shit. Fuck the cooties. I don't give a fuck about cooties. I'm a grown-ass man. So, I mean, it's like, I don't give a damn about cooties. So, but yeah, anyway, it's very interesting just the things that you remember, just to see, like, the evolution and the revolution, however you want to define and classify it, of just seeing the women's athletes. And again, we go back to and correlate that with you, but I mean, Domina Katarina, we mentioned, Aurelia, Vivi, we talked about Hit the Mat. I mean, and Kim Chi, of course, but one thing I got to ask you is, I have seen you also against another one I got to mention. I got to mention Bella Inc., and we'll talk about Hazel in a second because I know you brought up Hazel, but Bella Inc. is another one. You know, she's tattooed, you know, she's a sexy, beautiful human being. I've had the pleasure of having her on the show, another amazing competitor. Can you talk about working with Bella?
Okay, so I worked with Bella Inc. back in January when I was in Vegas, actually on the same tour when I was in LA working with Hit the Mat. I was on tour for a week on the West Coast. But anyway, Bella Inc., amazing. She's a super sweetheart. And so we shot a couple of different clips. One of them was actually a cat fighting clip. Bella Inc. does not look as strong as she is. Holy shit. We started going up against each other. I was like, this chick is ferocious as fuck. Like, she's a total badass. She's great.
She is. I mean,
super professional, super reliable. Like it was a breeze just working with her, and I can't wait until I work with her again sometime this year. If not at SetCon, I'm supposed to head out to Vegas September for my birthday, and I'll also be shooting content out there. So we've been talking.
Awesome. Okay. Well, first and foremost, I just got to say, I think you classified Bellank to a T there. I mean, here's another woman that, again, with her boxing, I mean, she's another one that trains like you, and that's why I appreciate it, because I see you both of your work ethic. Same with Kim. I'm going to classify Kim in this, and Hazel, which I'll get to in a second here.
Right.
But I think I just enjoy watching just you two just apply your craft, because I'll be honest with you. I'm going to use a Southern term here, because growing up I'll be honest with you, as a New Yorker, because, New Yorker, Long Island, New York represent, but as a kid that also...
I don't know if I should classify Long Island as a New Yorker. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Why are you burying the suburbs, man? Why are you burying the suburbs?
I don't know. If you're not in the 5 boroughs, because it's you.
You just... Where's the salt, man? You're just throwing salt at me. Throwing some shade at me. Goddamn. Hey.
I have love for you.
That's all good.
But yes, New York represents.
Okay. Now, after I got, buried there for my suburb cred... Okay.
You know the art of love.
It is. I feel it. I feel the love. When push comes to shove, nothing feels better than feeling the love. That's so Raven. There we go again. Pop culture.
Oh, that's so Raven. Another one. Another mid-2000 show that I was obsessed with when I was like 12.
Yeah, then Raven.
Yes.
Okay, then Raven's Home comes out, and then you see everybody on there, and friggin' just, yeah. I mean, okay, we'll be here all day with that one, but yeah, so I agree, that's so Raven. So back to representing the LI here. Growing up on Long Island, New York, and having relatives that were in the South, I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina currently now, so I look at it like, all right, there's a term in the South that everybody used to say. It's called bowed up. So instead of feeling like getting all angst or getting, riled up, they call it bowed up down here. So I got to say, you, Kim, Hazel, there's a lot of very strong people here. Y'all get a little bowed up, and you go in there for the kill. So I got to just say that it's your bowed upness, if you will. There's a new term for you. Y'all are bowed up. I could also say...
Thank you so much. Bowed up. I've never heard that one, but that's good. I have family in the South, Savannah, Georgia, but the slang is a little different.
Hey, I got family in Augusta, so it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, nice.
All right. Now, I got to say this because you brought up the Carolinas. I could have also mentioned North Carolina. Come on and raise up. Take your shirt off. Twist around your head. Spin like a helicopter. There we go. Petey Pablo.
Oh my goodness. You're just killing it right now with the 2000 episode.
I got to, man. This is the childhood. We got to rip our childhood. That's it. Teach these youngins nowadays what it's about. Oh, anyway.
Speaking of just, not even to get on the subject, but oh man, Petey Pablo. I remember I used to sing the lyrics of Freak League. My mom cut me one time. Oh man, I was on punishment for like a week.
Tanisha, Keisha, Tara, Freak League.
So just real quick, so that song got me in trouble, and Nelly's "Hot in Here" with that opening line, "Good gracious, as bodacious."
Vivacious.
I was on punishment for 2 weeks. It's just every time someone brings up Nelly or Petey Pablo, I get like PTSD almost. Like, oh. Oh man, bad flashbacks.
Well, you know what that also brings me to? Like, Weird Al did a cover of Hot in Here. He called it Trash Day, talking about, taking the trash.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
All right, it came out like right after like 03, 04 off his Adam Poole hat. I got to send you the cover. It's pretty funny. It was a pretty good parody.
Yeah, send me that cover. I don't know how I missed that.
All right, well, okay. Whew. All right, now back to Section Wrestling. I also wanted to mention to you because we did mention Hazel, and I gotta say Hazel is another one who's just an absolute sweetheart, just a great build. I think you two, like Kim, have just such a great dynamic, and just Hazel just being the badass that she is. I always enjoyed watching your clips with Hazel as well. So we got to put over Hazel strong on that one.
Hazel is a freaking badass. First time I worked with Hazel was up in Montreal shooting for Fighting Girls, and again, another different territory for me. Funny enough, I don't do a lot of pro-style wrestling. I'm familiar with the moves, but in terms of actually performing the technique, I don't have a lot of opportunity. Well, I do, because Do Mayton does do pro wrestling. Vivi does take her time and she'll do sessions with us, so she'll teach us. But I just haven't had time to go to one of those seminars yet. But anyway, working with Hazel up in Montreal, she was just showing me the ropes, literally and figuratively. And she was just an amazing teacher. And I definitely always look forward to working with Hazel as well.
So you're pretty much saying she's a straight vet, the veteran right there, taking the youngin under her wings.
Yeah, she's definitely, when it comes to pro style, that is her domain. And she was patient with me. She definitely, if I wasn't doing something, like for instance, perfect example. So belly punching, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't realize, because we know pro style, a huge element of it is the actual show, right? Entertainment aspect of it. So when we were doing belly punching, I was a little scared to like actually hit her in the stomach. And she's like, no, Lana, punch me in the stomach for real. It has to have that sound. So all those key elements are important in pro style wrestling, and that just stuck with me until, like, up until now. So again, she's an amazing teacher.
Okay, now just because I also have the love that I have for both you and Kim, as well with Hazel, again being a little biased here just for a second, punching that stomach, is it like abs of steel?
Yes, it's definitely abs of steel. Once I punched her, I was like, holy shit, my sister.
Okay, just had to put that out there because I gotta say, that woman knows I love her, but you got abs of steel. I swear to God, that woman just, ugh.
That girl, she's in amazing shape.
She is. She absolutely
amazing.
Is. Okay. Another one I got to mention to you is, well, I'm going to segue just for a second here because I did want to bring this up because I think this has got to be huge for you. I did see the post about the Fetish Awards and being nominated for Best New Female Performer. Can you talk about how that felt like to be nominated for the Fetish Awards, Lana?
So technically those awards are, the nominees are already out, but I was just posting to get nominated. I wasn't nominated.
Okay. Well, being a nominee, I just got to say, okay. Yeah, excuse me. Let me rephrase. Nominee, being as a nominee with that, I think that's got to be like, with the Fetish Awards, because again, we talked about the different fetishes and different roles that we see with the Unity, so that's got to be pretty cool that they actually have awards for this.
Right. Yeah. And the fetish world is so amazing. And although it is competitive in terms of there's so many different models, right? Everyone brings something different to the table. I personally feel like, so there's not one person that's similar to another, if that makes any sense. Like each model is individual in their own right, and it's just amazing what everyone has to offer. So I'm definitely also looking forward to going down to FedCon too and shooting with a whole bunch of different models that I either shot with last year when I was at FedCon for the first time, and then shooting with different people and different companies this year. So yeah, I love it.
I gotta say, you make my job easy because that was going to be on my segue. Because I mean, FetCon, Fetish Awards. I mean, just and the amount of people that you get to work with and that support like these different categories and these different groups is absolutely amazing. I think the following of that, it's very cool. Like I said, with whatever, I think that was really rewarding for you ladies, and I got to put that over once again just to reiterate.
Right, and it's also, I'm happy that there's a con, right, for fetish. Just because fetishes, in terms of different, like in terms of, we can compare it to like ABN, for instance, and porn is everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. We can safely say that. Whereas fetish is super niche. And for instance, I was at Exotica in Chicago representing Clips for Sale, and Exotica is mainly geared to porn stars. And there was a couple of us fetish models there, and I had guys coming up to me because I had my laptop set up, and I was playing a video of mine called Ask Mother Cocoon, and people were just coming up to me, males, females, couples, and they were like, "You're sitting on this guy's face for 10 minutes?" Like, they were astonished by this. Like, it was like they've never seen anything like this. So it's just like we see sex all the time as important, but like a fetish is just, it just opens new doors, and it's exciting because of that. It's not the same old.
First and foremost, you could say porn very slightly with this, because as someone who has interviewed people in the adult entertainment industry, it's okay, because like I said, it's an art form in its own right. It's also being very respectful to a performer, so that's okay. I understood your segue there, how pretty much, well, sex sells, and yes, porn is out there. The internet is filled with a lot of pornographic material, but with the the fetish world and the session world, I mean, like I said, there's a difference in there too, because you're actually wrestling, and you're getting the overall, the repertoires and everything mixed in there. So yeah, I understood that analogy. It made sense. I got you on that. I see where you're coming from.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think you analyzed, dissected, and deciphered that very well. So, I mean, okay, I will bring this up as well, because I did see, besides Hans, I've seen, like, Diablo is another one with Doom Maidens that does a lot of, with the intergender and the mixed wrestling type of thing that I got to appreciate with him. Kaya's another one. I've seen Clever Brave with you guys, Constance, Twiggy, Maxine Machine, The Spoiler. Like, you've had so many amazing, like, different, scenes and clips for sale, or whatever clips, if you will. Like, there's a lot of great stuff there, and I got to put you over for your work on with those respective people.
Oh yeah, The Spoiler. That's when I was up in Toronto shooting with Absolute Mixed Wrestling. She's amazing too. I would definitely I can't wait to work with him again. It was intense because this is 25 minutes of straight competitive wrestling. And he's not a small guy. His stats is like, he's like 6'2", 200 and something pounds. And Max Machina, she's a freaking, like, she does MMA, so that was also a tough match too. But it's people like that and everyone else that you mentioned that just continuously push me to be better. So I appreciate you shining light on those individuals.
Oh yeah, well, I look at it like this too, because even if it's like behind the scenes or whether it's on camera, you absorb and you learn, you take it in like a sponge. That's how you have to do it, because like I said, it's a very you see, a lot of people don't realize the disciplinary, thing that goes into just the discipline factor of it, and just being, humble and respectful to what you're doing and you're going into. This applies to everything in life, whatever endeavor it may be, whether it be session wrestling, etc., and all the competitive sport realm. But the discipline that goes into that is absolutely amazing. So you have to, like, appreciate that, the advice and the, the acknowledgement and knowledge that you take in from working with said individual.
Right.
Another thing I got to mention to you is I've seen your stuff with. All right, I got to put over with the Grapple Den as well. I've seen you do some stuff with Grapple Den as well. Can you talk about how that?
Oh right, yeah, Grapple Den. So we just had a party last Friday, and that was amazing. So that party was more geared to not mini sessions, but just whoever wanted to wrestle can wrestle. So attending models, fans, and so many people came out, showed up, and it was about 50 people in the venue. It was great. And we had a Royal Rumble at the end where there was a lot of people going at it with each other, and it was fun. That was actually my first Grapple Den party, because Grapple Den, they had stopped doing parties in 2017, and then came back out last Friday doing a party, and it looks like it's going to be continuous every couple of months now. So that was amazing.
I gotta say this to you as well, because I wanted to bring up Grapple Den because I dig the wrestling party of it and the aspect. I think that's a whole lot of fun. I think that's great to be a part of. But okay, this is where the other pop culture will come in me. I'm gonna give you 2 pop culture references here, Lana. All right, let me see if you. Well, obviously, I think you'll remember these. We'll do the first one. Party and bullshit. Notorious B.I.G. Just party and bullshit.
Right.
And then,
bullshit.
Yeah. And number 2, I'll do a little MC Light. You rocks the party that rocks the party. I rocks the party that rocks the party. There you go.
Nice. Love it.
All right.
You got me on guard, the MC Light one. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I think
nice.
Well, this also ties in because friggin' all that, the reboot's coming back of all that on June 15th. I remember, like, her on all that and all these people. Yeah. So I'm like, forgive me some of
Yeah.
that friggin' Mace performing Feel So Good in like 97, and then nowadays,
Oh, 97, right.
Harlem World, man. Make me feel so good. Hell yeah. Okay. Another performer I did have to mention to you because I've seen you work with her. I got to put over Scorpion because Scorpion, man, UK is another one that's just great. The international talent that we see there, Scorpion Fetish.
Right, right. And I'm actually headed to the UK next month to wrestle at Monica's venue, July 20th. So I'm excited about that. But working with Scorpion during SetCon last year, she's another super professional, super reliable model. My clips with her, just a special shout out for her. My clips with her always have so amazingly. It's just something about us. I feel like we have amazing chemistry, and it's me and her are about the same size too, about 5'7", roughly the same weight. So it's a good contrast, a good comparison and contrast with us. So, and she's skilled, she's strong, and she also just again, because now that you brought up Scorpion, she's also a really good teacher too, because when I was shooting for her clip store, she was showing me some pro style moves that I thought that I would never want to do. So one of them, the tombstone, I always thought that was like a super dangerous move, which it is, but she again took her time with me, and we were safe, and it was good. So I would definitely work with her again, and I trust her to show me new, different techniques that I'm not familiar with.
Okay, now as someone who also appreciates Scorpion and just her size and her strength, because you two are, I gotta say, I've watched you two, you guys are about the same in height, but I gotta say, as far as Scorpion goes, just because I know how, what a brick, I'm gonna say it, put it bluntly, brick shithouse that she is, and just the strength that she exudes and accentuates, abs of steel.
Yeah, no, that's another one. After still, I did not punch these abs still.
Got you. Okay.
No, we were doing more for her. It was like more. We were doing like pro style, so like the tombstone pile drivers. That was like so freaking scared to do, but we got it done, and it was done safely.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at wrestling history, what happened with Owen Hart breaking Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck off a tombstone pile driver.
Stone Cold Steve, right? That's one, because every time I think about that, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna fuck my neck up, and I just think about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, because of that, he wasn't able to continue. So yeah.
Yeah, you could do like Stone Cold Steve Austin, though, because you're a tough kid. Just anybody tries to help you, just brush them off, walk out on your own accord, say nothing, open up a can of whoop ass, and walk it dry, stomp a mud hole in your ass kind of deal.
In your ass. Oh, my goodness.
Well,
you're great, by the way. I just wanted to give you a special shout out.
Thank you. I try. I'm very appreciative of the combative sports and the art forms, which actually segues me. So thank you, Miss Lana Luxor. We're gonna talk about.
So I have a question.
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just because you brought that up. So did you wrestle when you were in school?
No, I just appreciated it, to be honest with you. Me, I was more kind of like behind the scenes. I just wrote a lot. I did like a lot. I just like wrote down like stuff. I just took notes and shit. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'd watch and I studied. Okay. I'd watch and study. I was more of like, let me watch and study and appreciate this, because I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I'll just say, here's how I viewed it. Like, I always appreciated pro wrestling, whether it be like wrestling that you see in a high school gym, amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling, what you see in WWE and all these promotions and professional wrestling. I'm just like, you know what? If I get the chance to interview these people one day and just take behind the scenes and give them the platform to tell their story like we're doing now, I'll be happy with it. So I'll be honest with you. The fact that I'm doing this makes me happy. I'm behind the scenes, so I'm good. I just give my respect and my humbleness to people. So, but yeah, I was not the wrestling type, but I appreciated it for what they did.
Awesome.
If that makes any sense. But yeah, I was more like, let me be behind the scenes.
It does. No, yeah, it definitely does. And plus, you can learn a shit ton by just, like you said, studying and taking notes as well, too. You're very knowledgeable.
Oh, thank you. I mean, a little friggin' like, I think it's kind of like that Kevin Hart sketch when he was talking about Seriously Funny, talking about how these MMA fighters are so badass that they can pick the one pinch system. He's like, you shut down your system. I'm dead. And he's talking about shutting down the systems, and MMA fighters are badass.
Well, Seriously Funny was great too.
It was. In jail,
Yeah,
Bob.
I enjoy Kevin Hart.
Talk about all these fake thugs and, in jail by myself, one pillow. I mean, come on. I mean, there's so many great lines.
So many great one-liners. So many great one-liners. Oh my god, and it's still, it just, not to get off track, but like it's still funny today. That's almost like 10 years old.
I know.
That's crazy, right?
I mean, people still use the GIF. No, he wasn't ready.
Oh, I know. Yes. Oh my god, yes. Oh man.
So I think, folks, as you listen, folks, as you listen to this, I think you could tell that Lana and I like a lot of the same stuff.
I know, right? I'm just like, I keep sidetracking you.
Don't even worry about it, man.
No,
You're great. You're great. You're great, kid. You're great. So, okay. Pro wrestling and the MMA, like, tie-ins, I think with me, just as a kid watching like the Attitude Era, and you see like Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock in the WWF, Tank Abbott going to WCW in 2000. Hell, even if you want to include Daniel Puder, had like 8 fights, but he was in the WWE $1 Million Tough Enough winner. I remember, oh god, who else? Well, CM Punk dabbled into it. Brock Lesnar, Alberto Del Rio.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Bellator. There's so many promotions. Bellator, American Top Team, who just did their thing on Impact Wrestling like about a year or two ago. I mean, you see a lot of MMA and pro wrestling influence, like we mentioned before. Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke with Invicta, Shannon Knapp's promotion. I mean, Ronda Rousey. I mean, the MMA pro wrestling tie-ins are great, and that's why. All right, I'll be honest with you. I'll give you a two-parter here. First and foremost, the first question I'll have you answer before I get to my second one. What are your thoughts on the overall pro wrestling MMA tie-ins and correlations? Because you see a lot of wrestlers doing MMA wrestlers wanting to get into wrestling.
Because you're asking me, and I do submission grappling. Yep. So, of course, I appreciate the MMA tie-in into pro wrestling because a lot of MMA is submission grappling that is used. You see that in UFC as well. Yep. So, hell yeah, I appreciate that. Although, I feel like there are some people, of course, in a disagreement. They don't appreciate this newer style of MMA incorporated, submission grappling incorporated into pro style wrestling. But yeah, I appreciate it personally.
All right, now see, you also segue. That was going to be my follow up, and I love that. So all right, so here.
It's like I'm reading your mind here. I'm like reading your mind.
Well, you could also free my mind. You could be like in Vogue, take it back in the day. Free your mind. Oh God, we got to stop. Anyway.
Oh, you're so quick with these references.
I
just appreciate this.
Boom, boom, boom. That's what I'm saying. All right. Anyway, what I look at. Okay, so the segue I was gonna say to you, because like I remember watching like the old documentaries of like John Stossel telling Dr. D. David Schultz that wrestling was fake, and then Dr. D. David Schultz just slapped him right in his ear and made his ears ring. I mean, Dr. J was talking about keep them heads ringing, ding, ding, dong, ring a ding, 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 dong. I mean, John Stossel got that ears ringing. So, I mean, watching that, and I think as a kid who was always, like, around the debate about MMA and pro wrestling, because that debate still goes on, which, be honest with you, I don't want to say shut the fuck up, but people, you got to shut the fuck up, because there's a lot of, like we mentioned, the tie-ins and correlations. I mean, you could disagree. You have a right to your opinion, but it's just like, you see a lot going on in MMA and pro wrestling for both of their respective stuff. And I mean, look at Dana White. Dana White was at WrestleMania for Ronda Rousey's debut match at WrestleMania. Come on. And Dana White works with Vince McMahon and has a working relationship with Vince McMahon. So come on. Like, you see a lot more than you think.
Right.
Exactly. So they got to calm down.
Right. Yeah. There's, like you said, there's definitely a lot more going on. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. So it's like you said, shut the fuck up. People don't really know everything that's going on, so yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
And you don't have to be that subtle with it. You could tell them to shut the fuck up. Everybody in together now. What? Hey, man, I'll put another one in there for you.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
I'll put another one in there for you, Lana. Take a little Limp Bizkit, Method Man. Everybody in together now. What? Just shut the fuck up. Take it back to 99 2000 on there.
Just shut the fuck up. but no, yes, that debate is a little tiring to listen to.
Absolutely. So, okay. Now, I also wanted to mention, because we mentioned a lot of people, like, Kaya, Grapple Den, Clever Brave, Constance, Twiggy, The Spoiler, Maxine Machine. Hell, you can put in, I've seen your stuff with Whitney Morgan. Ursa Fierce is another one that I'd like to mention, but again, I have to say this at all. I'm going to group this together. You, Lana Luxor, Kimchi, Jennifer Thomas, also in there with the Session Girls. And I got to say this also I was going to mention, because I know Jen does LFC Lingerie Fighting Championship. She also just used, what I got to ask you, I'm kind of curious about this. Catch wrestling is another thing that's great, because that's been around since like the 1800s and the 20s with your George Luthez and your George Hackenschmidts and all that stuff. So I think that also helps too, because, catch wrestling, there's a lot of joint manipulation like we mentioned, and submission wrestling and knee bars and arm bars and just anything that'll shut down your system, like Kevin Hart, just hit me at pressure point, I'm done. So, that also ties in a little catch wrestling.
Hooks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of great art forms that I just had to put over there. But, yeah, I could just say about you, I just really can't I look forward to seeing what you go on, because we covered a lot in this forum, and I'm going to tell you this right now before I get to my final set of questions, and I'm going to stop rambling because I'm rambling. I'm a rambling man. There you go, another reference. But anyway, I want to just say to you, we will definitely do a pop culture show together, talk some Blackstreet, some R&B, just have some fun with that as well. But you are more than welcome on the Mic with Mike anytime. We'll do another interview for him in the future, so I got to just want to get that overture towards you, and we'll do some more stuff in the future.
Oh, I would love to be on your show again. I just definitely want to take some time out to thank you for having me on your show. I know, we were having, a bit of, scheduling conflict, but I'm happy that it finally worked out, and I'm so happy to be on your show, because I think that you're super funny and you're super supportive, and overall you're just a really genuine person, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you too, and I think that's how you have to be genuine and, just be very humble people. That goes a long ways. Just add heed to what Lana Luxor said, and then just slap it, put a stamp on it, put that stamp of approval on it, stamp it down. Yes, so, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll definitely do more. I guess the final questions I can ask you is, first and foremost, what people do, whether it be fetish modeling, session wrestling. We've covered a lot of you do. We talked about your bootay a little bit in this forum. We talked about a lot of body parts being associated with the repertoires. But I got to say with you, any advice that you want to give to anybody who wants to get into fetish modeling, session wrestling, and that endeavor specifically, is there any advice you would give them? Because there's a lot of great forums and ways to do it.
Oh man, there's so much. But first and foremost, I would probably say session. Let's go with session wrestling first. Always, this might sound like common sense, but always make sure to check references, right? With potential clients, because what we do, it's don't get me wrong, it's amazing, it's fun, but we do put ourselves at risk, going up against clients that we've never seen before, and sometimes completely new clients, and just make sure you screen each and every client or potential client that you may have. So that's first. I'm gonna say safety is always number one with me. That's a huge thing for me. And then second, have fun with what you do. Don't feel pressure in doing anything that you don't want to do, or feel like you have to, for instance, do a fetish that you're not comfortable with just to get more work. Because fetish is such a huge realm and so many different aspects of the fetish industry that you can dabble in. So it's fun that someone is able to play around with different aspects, and just don't feel like you have to do something that you don't want to do. Those are probably my big two things: being comfortable and safety.
I think that's a great, I know you mentioned that the last time, but I also kind of wanted you to say it again, because that's a big thing, just knowing your safety in that as well, because I remember you and Kim were talking about this when we did the show last time, so I just wanted to reiterate that point with that, and I think that was great advice, so beautifully said, and thank you on that front.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
All right. Now, I guess before we even close out, I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to step back, because I'm going to make another pop culture reference before I even get to the plugs. Ladies first. It's not just a Queen Latifah song, so I'm going to step back. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where people can find Lana Luxor. The floor is yours.
Okay, so Twitter is Lana X Luxor, so LanaXluxor. Instagram is the same thing. LANAXLUXOR. I'm not on Facebook, and I also have a Clips for Sale store. So it's clipsforsale.com/131557.
All right. All that will be in the description, and I know no Facebook, so that's okay. I'll be honest with you, I always do that. You see, that's what I also like about plugging the social medias. He gets to see what people use more of, and I appreciate that because a lot of people don't use Facebook.
I feel Facebook is so freaking censored, though. Like, it's like, how Instagram, my pictures are always getting taken down on Instagram, so I gotta be careful on that. So it's like, I'm not even trying to dabble with Facebook right now. That's why I just Twitter and Instagram. But mainly Twitter.
Okay, so you see, I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because there's a lot of guidelines with Facebook and Instagram. I've been seeing you girls get banned, or they've taken down your stuff. And I mean, a prime example is our girl Hazel. Hazel's been pissed. She's wanting to put
I was literally just about to bring up Hazel. So not only was she banned for like a month on Facebook, but then they were giving her shit about a bikini photo as well.
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. What the hell?
And this was like yesterday. So like that's fucking ridiculous. So that's why I'm like, I'm not even gonna waste my energy on Facebook. So guys, you could find me on either Twitter or Instagram.
I gotta say, Hazel's kind of putting a chokehold there on Facebook for that photo. I don't blame her, because that's ridiculous. She's in a bikini. What the hell's wrong with your Facebook?
Right? Yeah, I see the same picture that she had posted on Twitter was the picture that she posted on Facebook, and she's covered from, she has the top, she has the bottom on. So I don't understand why would they give her shit about that. So that even made me even confirm further to myself, like, fuck Facebook. But yeah.
All right, I'll be honest with you. I'll make a crisscross references. That whole thing is just wiggity wiggity whack. That's what that is. It's wiggity wiggity whack is what that is.
It is wiggity wiggity whack.
So
yeah, that's why I'm not even dealing with Facebook. So yeah.
Got you. And before we even close out again, because like I said, we will do more of these in the future, and I look forward to incorporating with you and working with you once more. So do you have any final words for your fans, Miss Lana Luxor? Any final words to the people before we close out?
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for taking your time out to listen to my thoughts on here. It's always good to be able to express yourself. I feel like people aren't able to hear me more often just because I don't regularly do podcasts, as you already know. And it's not because I don't want to. It's just that either I don't have the time at the moment, or again, this is one of the few podcasts that are dedicated to session wrestlers. So I love that I was able to have a platform today just for people to know a little bit more about me. So guys, thank you again for listening.
All right. And again, I'm happy to support session wrestling. I'm happy to support any endeavor, because as you know, I got a variety with these shows. So again, it's always a pleasure to talk to awesome people, and I include Miss Lana Luxor in there. So folks, for Lana Luxor, my name is Mike Larkin. This will conclude another edition of On the Mic with Mike. More shows to come, more pop culture shows, more On the Mic with Mike shows, more Steve and Mike shows. Just stay tuned. SteveandMikeShow.com, SoundCloud MC Larkin92. Follow me, SM Show 1, and just follow Lana. Links will be in the description. I'll talk to you soon. And folks, thank you all for listening, and have a great day.